Mrs. Smith. How are you? Great. I'm Sherry. I was the nurse in here at Shift Change this morning. So I talked about we're going to go through the collection and storage process. It's going to take 10 minutes. Go through how to collect the breast milk and the proper labeling and storage. So is this an okay time? Okay, fantastic. So as I mentioned, we're going to go through the process, leave you some brochures to look at a later time. Make sure you know how to label the breast milk appropriately and the reasoning why we do it, and then answer any questions that you may have. Sound good? Great. So this is a kit. This is the Symphony breast pump kit. This is a sterile. I went ahead and opened it to make it easier. This is going to be a basin that you have to keep all your breast pump supplies in. Here's some information I'm going to leave for you. It just talks about the different steps as your 28-week baby progresses in the NICU, what to expect. And then one step at a time. We're going to start with oral care and then progress to non-nutritive breastfeeding. So these are great resources, and as your baby grows, then some of these other things will start applying. Sound good? Okay. So in the kit, you have supplies to do both breasts at one time. For demonstration purposes, we're going to use this balloon. We're going to say that's the areola or nipple area. So you have a breast shield. So you're going to take your breast shield, and you have a connector. These two go together. Then you have a valve and membrane. This membrane, this little white piece comes off. Each time there's a push of air with the pump, it's going to open and close, and that's what's going to filter the milk through. So that is going to push onto the bottom. And then you have your tubing. There's a little hole in the back, so your tubing is going to go right in here. For demonstration purposes, we're going to use the bigger bottles. So we have the 80 ml bottles, and we have 35 mLs. So as you produce more, you have two different size bottles that you're able to use. Here's a smaller bottle. Any breast milk produced is better than nothing. We can use it. We can use it for oral care, or we can use it for feeding for your baby. So you're going to take the breast shield. You're going to make sure that the nipple area is not in the cone part, but actually in the center, because if you turn the suction on, it could create damage to that area, and we don't want that to happen. So you're going to turn it on, and when you do, it's like the breast is going to simulate the baby suckling at the breast. So you're going to do both breasts. You can do them one at a time, or time saving, you can do both of them for 15 minutes. So once you're finished with that and you've collected your breast milk, I like to go ahead and undo the tubing just so it doesn't topple over. When you're unscrewing the top, just try not, make sure you have a hold of the bottom. When you're flinging it, there may be some breast milk still in here, so I wouldn't just swirl it around because you may fling it around. Just kind of work the bottle. There may be a little breast milk that's still in here. You can kind of tap it, get a little, every last little ounce that you have, and then set it in your bin. We have caps, so everything's going to be sterile or cleaned. Go ahead and screw it on, give it a little hug, make sure it's really on there. Since your baby's small, we have a 1 through 60 program. So what that means is you're going to get these labels. So you're going to start with the number 1, next pumping session 2, all the way to work your way up to 60. So we're going to use the most immature breast milk, just like your baby is. Your baby's preemie. And then work our way up. So as your baby grows, your breast milk, the contents of breast milk is growing as well, or it's enhancing with nutrients. So for this one, I went ahead and did a number 1. You'll label on top here. You'll have a barcode. So you'll have a sheet. For today's purposes, I created one. I'll bring you a printout specifically for your baby, but it'll have patient's name. So it'll say Smith, boy 1, have your first name, have the medical record number, it'll say breast milk, and then I'll have a barcode. So very important is when you're putting this label on, you'll have a pen and marker in your room, is go ahead and date it. So we'll put 11, 18, 15, and it's 2 p.m. Well, why am I doing this? Breast milk in the refrigerator, based on the protocol that we use, is good for 48 hours. So we want to make sure that your breast milk is within that time frame. Even at home, date and time it and when you bring it in. That way we know what time you've pumped this, and if we need to move some of your breast milk as you start producing multiple bottles at one time, we can start putting some of it into our freezer here in the NICU. So we've got our barcode with our date and time, and then we've labeled here. Something I do want to bring up, when you come into the NICU, you're washing your hands. Before you do anything, before we touch the parts, we want to make sure we use soap and water. When you're done pumping and you've put the lids on, set them on the counter, go over to the sink, wash with soap and water, dry your hands. That way it's clean. Breast milk is a bodily fluid, and we don't want to be touching things or your breast milk come in contact with other things. We don't want to contaminate anything. So now you have a properly pumped, sealed, and labeled breast pump or breast milk. So now what do? Well, you need to clean all these pieces. So you're going to take your pieces apart. You're even going to take the white membrane off. This comes off as well. You're going to wash these pieces with hot soapy water. So you'll take your bin over to the sink with the hot soapy water, clean everything. I'd put fresh paper towels in here. You won't have wet paper towels. And then just put all your pieces in once you've washed them and let them air dry. We have we're bringing in a new, Medela has a micro steam, quick clean bag, almost like a little popcorn bag, some you can stand up in the microwave. There'll be microwaves when you come in and you're scrubbing in. That's for sterilization purposes only, not to heat up popcorn or heat up your coffee, but it's for sterilization. So you're going to wash your parts, the breast pump parts, with hot soapy water after every use. But once a day, you can use the quick steam bag. You're going to put 60 mLs of water in it with your clean parts once you've washed them with hot soapy water. You're going to put them in the microwave. Depending on the wattage, it can be anywhere from 1 to 5 minutes. I believe ours are going to be 5 minutes, so we'll use. And then you're going to turn it on. So once it's done, your parts, the breast pump parts, will be sterilized. You only need to do that once a day. On the back of the bag, it's going to have a 1 through 20, and then you just mark off today that you've sterilized these parts. Once the bag has cooled down, you can take those pieces out and let them air dry, and then they're sterilized. One thing I do want to point out, there's no reason to wash the tubing, because if you get water in here, this can harbor bacteria, and the only thing that's going through this is air. If you get breast milk on the outside, you can always wipe it down with our alcohol wipes that we have, and it won't hurt the plastic as well. So just to refresh, you're going to pump 15 to 20 minutes every 3 hours. We need to properly label 1 through 60, and then your label on the side. Reason is to make sure we can know that this is your breast milk for your baby. You're going to clean the breast pump parts with hot soapy water, put them in your bin and let them air dry, and then once a day we're going to do the micro steam bag just for sterilization purposes. As I mentioned, in the room is a refrigerator, so you're going to put this in the refrigerator. Just want to stress that freshly pumped breast milk is good for 48 hours. When we start pulling your breast milk out of the freezer, and once it's thawed, it's good for 24. So 48 hours fresh, 24 once it's been defrosted. Okay, is there any questions? Great. So I'm just going to go through and then have you walk me through the process and just make sure you've got all the steps down. Sound good? Great. Thank you.